He said that and a man's good name were all God gave him when he came into the world, and when he left this world, his name on his marker would be all that was left. Now that I told you that, Mr. Waring, I'll be getting back to work. I'm having his marker erected next Sunday afternoon. The preacher agreed to say a few words. I'm going to serve a meal at the palace for anyone who wants to come." Alvin Waring couldn't believe what he was hearing. She was almost to the door when he barked at her to come back and sit. He gentled his tone and smiled when she perched herself on the edge of the hard wooden chair. The summer blue eyes were frightened. "Now, little lady, you just sit there and listen to me read you Cotton Easter's last will and testament. Before I do that, I want to tell you about Cotton. If I don't, you won't understand the will. Cotton came here to the desert with his daddy many years ago. He was just a small child at the time. His daddy was an educated man whose wife died before her time. With a small boy to raise, he decided to come here to seek his fortune, the way his own father had done. He was very successful, almost as successful as his father. He sent Cotton back to Boston to get educated, and the minute the boy finished his studies, he hightailed it right back here and took his place next to his daddy. The main reason his daddy came here was because his father had mined the Comstock lode. That would be Cotton's granddaddy. The old gentleman left all he held dear to Cotton's father, and there was a lot that he held dear. Cotton's daddy sold all the shares to the Comstock that his father left him at just the right time and banked a fortune. Sold high, $22,000 a share, and he owned thousands of shares. Cotton's daddy was a gambler and won acres and acres of land in poker games. He never touched that money. He struck it rich time and again. He had a big, old, ugly Wells Fargo safe made special, and he kept his fortune in it. Didn't trust banks or the stock market. A wise man. He bought up half the desert for 50 cents an acre. He grub-staked many a man who later paid back double for the stake. In some cases, the veins and mines found their way back to Cotton's daddy. When he died, his estate went to Cotton, who didn't give a whit about the money. Cotton wanted his own strike. He amassed his own fortune, and it all went into the Wells Fargo safe along with his daddy's money and his granddaddy's money. Make no mistake, Miss Coleman, Cotton knew exactly what was his granddaddy's, and what was his daddy's. I don't think he knew or even cared about the amount. I tried to tell him, but he simply wasn't interested. He wanted to be like all the other miners, spinning yarns and drinking rotgut, loving women on the run, gambling and hitting the mother lode. He craved respect, and you were the only person who gave it to him, Miss Coleman. He said you nursed him when he came down with pneumonia, and that you fed him when he was hungry. He said you washed his clothes once or twice and said you were, what he said was, you were, forgive me, a lusty bed partner. Sally blushed, but the summer blue eyes didn't waver. Cotton left all his holdings to you, Miss Coleman. Me? Now, why would he do a thing like that, Mr. Waring? Because you accepted him for who he was, and he said you respected him and asked his advice. He said nobody else, man or woman, ever asked for his advice. You followed it, too. That was important to Cotton. But, you're a very rich woman, Miss Coleman. It's a short will. I'll read it to you, and you can ask me questions if you want when I'm finished. Sally listened to the old attorney's quivering voice, understanding only one word, rich. Other people were rich. People like herself were never rich. If she were rich, she could go back to Texas and help her family. She would have to ask how much money that would take. She wished then that her life had been different. She wished she could read and write well. Cotton had helped her a little, but she'd been too ashamed and embarrassed to let him know how ignorant she was. The attorney's voice trailed off. He was finished. She needed to pay attention. He had said she should ask questions. He was staring at her expectantly. Mr. Waring, I'd like to help my parents out if that's possible. These past few years I've sent little bits of money back home, but there are quite a few young